restricted in our supreme justice.
Let's get into some things of the things, child. We got some stuff to talk about today, honey. We got some stuff to talk about. Hit that like button. If you are new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We have a great time over here. You meant what you said when you said it. Really be expect, because I'll be understanding y'all sometimes. And when y'all know when I say y'all, you know I ain't talking about y'all. You don't talk about y'all. This means that all these people that got something to say have been actively involved in the political process in their world. I don't believe it. You ain't gonna convince me. I know y'all love me. What's up, y'all? Happy Saturday. Listen, we about to get into this TD Jakes situation, but make sure you are staying up with your Black Girl Vitamins. Do not forget that you can use your discount code for your 20% off of your first order, ReallyBTV. Thank you once again to all those who have already supported. Let me know how you liking your Black Girl Vitamins, because, baby, I'm still using mine, and I am loving them, okay? Make sure y'all get into the things of the things. And we about to get into this TD Jakes of it all, honey. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Lord, I gotta do something to this hair, honey. Oh, Lord. Anyway, so last night, Tyrone Blackburn, the attorney for Dwayne Youngblood, he filed their response. He had until midnight last night, and I think he filed it at 11:59 and 58 seconds, okay? He definitely waited until the last minute to file it, but he did file it. Now, I'm going to go over a little bit of the background. For those of you who have been keeping up with this case, I'm sorry, but it's been going on, and everybody may not know what's going on and all of the things. So we're going to talk a little bit about the background, and then I'm going to give you what you're here for, because y'all saw that title that said new allegations. That's what y'all saw. And yes, honey, there is a new affidavit with somebody. What? Look who done dropped down. Hey, Villanova. What's going on, my love? Me and Villanova are well overdue to do a collab, honey. She been busy. I've been busy. Life been lifing. But we are going to do a collab. Now, Villanova has been keeping us up on the Nesto situation. If you done got behind on Nasty Nesto, y'all make sure y'all make it over to Villanova's channel. She talk about other stuff too, but she definitely is keeping us up to date on the Nesto stuff. But let's get into this. Cruiser. Look, Cruiser done came over here to get this TD Jakes. I know what you're over here for. I know what you're over here for, Cruiser. You came to get this TD Jakes. Now, listen. Let's talk a little bit about the background, and then we're going to get into this new person. Somebody new has entered the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Someone new has entered the chat. So we're going to get a little background. Let me share my screen. Let me share my screen with y'all so y'all can see what we are looking at, okay? Love you too, girl. Lord, let me share this screen, honey. As you guys are coming in, make sure you are hitting the like button. There's 88 of y'all in here already, so I hope I have about 50 likes. Hope I have about 50 likes, please. Okay, so we are sharing this. We're going to scroll down a little bit. Y'all know what it is, okay? Listen, I'm going to read a little bit of this background. I'm not going to rehash all of this, but I am going to read a little bit of the background because I just think y'all need to know, for those of you who may have forgotten or haven't kept up. So, plaintiff T.D. Jakes' opposition to defendant Dwayne Youngblood's anti-SLAPP motion is meritless, relying on legal mischaracterizations and factual distortions to salvage a lawsuit designed to suppress free speech. Defendant's motion brought under yada, 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 boo, 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 is legally and factually justified as the statute protects public discourse on significant matters of public concern, including allegations of misconduct by clergymen and religious institutions. So here's what's happening for those of y'all who missed a little bit of how we got here. Dwayne Youngblood gave an interview to Larry Reed. In that interview to Larry Reed, he made some accusations against T.D. Jakes. T.D. Jakes didn't like what was said. T.D. Jakes filed a defamation lawsuit against Dwayne Youngblood and 10 other John Does. And the reason why he has all these other John Does is because Larry Reed made mention that there are other people out there that have similar stories. So I guess he was reserving the right to sue the John Does later on if and when those people's name came up. I don't know. Okay. Dwayne Youngblood responded by filing an anti-SLAPP. Now, we've talked about this before, but let me just give you what an anti-SLAPP is. An anti-SLAPP is designed to try to deter people from filing frivolous lawsuits. Basically, you slapping down the other person's lawsuit. And what Dwayne Youngblood is saying is, listen, my freedom of speech covers me telling my story. You don't have to like my story. You don't have to agree with my story, but it is my story to tell. So this is the response to T.D. Jakes saying, this anti-SLAPP is ridiculous. It needs to be thrown out. And what Youngblood's attorney is saying, no, your lawsuit is ridiculous. It needs to be thrown. Child, they're just going back and forth. But that's why I'm giving y'all the background so y'all will know what's up. Okay, so we're going to read a little bit more. The lawsuit is textbook SLAPP, a retaliatory effort to punish defendant for sharing personal experiences and insight into institutional abuse. Pennsylvania's anti-SLAPP law exists precisely to prevent such misuse of the judicial system. Furthermore, plaintiff erroneously disputes this court's jurisdiction over Jermaine Jakes, despite his clear and intentional efforts to threaten and intimidate defendant in Pennsylvania. The law is clear. Anyone who directs harm unto a state is subject to its jurisdiction. Now, what they're talking about is T.D. Jakes' son sent, threatening text messages to Dwayne Youngblood. And they're saying they absolutely have jurisdiction to include Jermaine Jakes in, I said Jermaine Youngblood, I meant Dwayne Youngblood. They absolutely, have the right to include that because he threatened him and he lives in the state of Pennsylvania. Therefore, he has jurisdiction. Okay. Jermaine, you might be in trouble because your name come up a couple of times, baby. They might be coming to get you. I know you're trying to defend your daddy and everything, but your daddy got lawyers. He paying good money too. Let them handle it. Let them handle it, Jermaine. And you stay out of this. Okay. All right. For these reasons, defendants respectfully request that this court grant his anti-SLAPP motion and dismiss plaintiff's complaint with prejudice. Award attorney fees and costs as mandated by Pennsylvania law. Grant defendants' request to file a cross-complaint against T.D. Jakes and Jermaine Jakes for their coordinated efforts to intimidate, silence, and retaliate against defendant. All right. Now, the next section talks about why the anti-SLAPP law applies. We're not reading that, child. We're not going to read that. Then the next section says the plaintiff fails to establish a prima facie case for defamation So basically what they're saying is he did not meet the burden of defamation. And I was listening to Thais and Pam was up on there last night. And something I want to remind us, all of us who are following this case, whether you believe Jakes or believe Youngblood or whatever the situation might be, I want us to remember that the burden is on TD Jakes to prove defamation. The burden is not on Youngblood to prove his story is true. So when people say, well, where are the receipts? He can't prove that TD Jakes did it. He can't prove that TD Jakes did it. That's not his burden to prove. It's not his burden to prove. He doesn't have to prove that he's telling the truth about TD Jakes. TD Jakes sued him for defamation. So the burden is on TD Jakes to prove it's not true. Does that make sense? Okay. I just want to make sure we on the same page. What did I just do? Hold on, y'all. I do this every time. Okay, hold on, y'all. Give me a second. Let me go back over here. I don't know how I keep doing that. Anyway, so there's that. Okay. Let me read a little bit of this. As an initial matter, none of these statements satisfy the requirements for defamation per se. The plaintiff so artfully, okay, wait a minute, hold on. The plaintiff so artfully articulated throughout this litigation is a public figure. Therefore, the plaintiff's actions, even those actions that occur away from the White House, how the White House get in this? The church, the Grammy Awards, book signings, and his family are of public concern. Instead of proving that Youngblood's statements are false, plaintiff merely conducted background checks in hopes of swaying the court to weigh against Mr. Youngblood's credibility. Plaintiff further alleges that pictures of his rundown church and home are proof that he is incapable of making promises that he couldn't keep. This does not satisfy his burden. At most, it proves that the plaintiff believes that the public persona and words should be enough in the court of law. This does not prove the claims are false. So in TD Jakes' response, basically what Youngblood is saying is, in TD Jakes' response, all he did was basically show that I'm broke, that I really don't have no money. But he didn't show, like, that doesn't negate anything. Just because I'm broke doesn't necessarily negate my story being true or not true. Okay. Thank you, Sabrea. Hey, boo. Okay. Lord have mercy, y'all. Okay. Hold on, let me go back to this. I didn't pull this out. Okay. Plaintiff failed to demonstrate actual malice. Additionally, the plaintiff has failed to prove and cannot prove that Mr. Youngblood's statements were made with malice because they were not. The question of whether the evidence in the record in defamation case is sufficient to support a finding of malice is a question of law. And then they quote, the legal cases and stuff. Clear and convincing evidence is the highest burden in our civil law and requires that the fact finder be able to come to clear conviction without hesitancy of the truth for the precise fact and issue. So they talk about different case law, y'all. Failure to investigate without more will not support a finding of actual malice, nor will or deserve to increase profit. The plaintiff speculates with no evidence that Mr. Youngblood made these allegations in an effort to transform himself from an offender to an inspiration. Then he goes further and alleges that Mr. Youngblood dispatched a lawyer to demand $6 million from Bishop Jakes in hopes of bolstering his weak position. The plaintiff adds an alleged vendetta by Mr. Youngblood's brother, Richard Youngblood. Based on these allegations, the plaintiff claims that Youngblood has substantial motive to make up stories about Bishop Jakes. Unproven ill will coupled with unproven attempted exposure to boost future business opportunities does not satisfy the plaintiff's burden. Moreover, the communication of a denial by a plaintiff does not usually constitute evidence of actual malice. The defendant has failed to prove a valid claim of defamation, and count of plaintiff's complaint should be dismissed. And count one, excuse me. All right. So all of that is what's to be expected. They're saying, listen, he didn't prove anything. They're saying he didn't prove anything. There's nothing to see here. Youngblood just told his story. Whether you like his story or agree with his story or not, it's his story to tell. TD Jakes has not proven that there was any malice. And of course, you know, he was also trying to prove that this was a big conspiracy between Larry Reed and Youngblood. He was trying to pull Larry Reed in. Y'all remember we talked about that. He was trying to subpoena Larry Reed's phone records and emails and everything else. So they're saying, listen, you didn't prove any of that. And then when Youngblood supplied his affidavits, one of the affidavits was from his brother, and there was a few other affidavits. Rather than them addressing what was said in the affidavits, TD Jakes and his lawyers basically attacked the history of the people in those affidavits. You know, they talked about Richard Youngblood and, you know, his divorces, and one of the other people had a criminal record. And so instead of them saying, listen, these stories can't be true, they were like, oh, well, he's a criminal. Oh, well, he was divorced 3 times. So, you know, Dwayne Youngblood's attorney is saying, listen, you focusing on the wrong stuff. You know, you keep focusing on the wrong stuff. Now, we read through a lot of that, okay? And one of the things that we sort of said, you know, as a tribe, we came to the conclusion that there was really no smoking gun. I mean, there was something. I think they were able to establish that Youngblood has been telling this story for a very, very long time, that this story didn't just come out of the sky, that this story was, you know, was something that had been said. And I think that, you know, Richard Youngblood telling his story shows that he had a totally separate experience as it relates to TD Jakes. However, I don't know if TD Jakes established conspiracy theory. Conspiracy. Now we all think that $6 million ask was a bit much. But again, according to attorney Pamela Esquire, she said, listen, that letter was just it was a typical demand letter. Now the amount might have been a little excessive, but it was just a typical demand letter. It wasn't anything, you know, salacious in that demand letter. But last night at 11:59 and 58 seconds, Dwayne Youngblood's attorney submitted his response, and embedded in that 150 something pages of information, there is a new affidavit by a new alleged victim. And he is telling his story. And that's what we getting ready to read through. Now, I'm going to go on and warn y'all, it's a little lengthy, but I feel like we need to hear the whole story. It is a little lengthy, but this is somebody who we have not heard from before. At least I never heard from him. This is not somebody that has been attached to Youngblood. This is somebody new. Let's read it, you guys. Let's read through this. Let's read through it, honey. Y'all, this thing is getting on my nerves. Okay. And I got to scroll down, honey. I got to scroll down because it was page 130 something. Hold on. Let me scroll down. As you can see, all this stuff, this thing is 150 something pages long. It's a lot of case law that go through all the different law, you know, stuff that only a lawyer would care about, child. Stuff that only a lawyer would care about. But let's read through this affidavit, okay? Now, I'm going to let y'all hear him. I'm going to let y'all hear this man's story. Okay, I'm gonna let y'all hear this man's story. We're gonna scroll up. It's 100. I think it was 100 page, 130 something. Now Tyrone Blackburn, he highlighted the yellow stuff. He highlighted it, the more salacious stuff in yellow. But we're gonna read through it because I feel like y'all need to hear this whole story. Okay, y'all need to hear this man's story. Now he wrote this 7-page letter, so we're gonna read the 7-page letter. I'm sending you a 7-page letter. We're going to read it, okay? All right, here we go. All right. Here it is right here. This is the new accusation. The man's name is Timothy Anderson. Has anybody ever heard of Timothy Anderson? Do we know Timothy? I'm going to make this a little bit bigger in case y'all want to read along with me. Do we know Timothy? Will there be anybody to witness for Timothy Anderson? I don't know him. Is there anybody that used to go to the Potter's house that may know this man? I don't know. Y'all tell me if y'all know this man, okay? All right, let's read through it. To whom it may concern, I, Timothy Anderson, am sharing my personal account and experience in ministry. He's going to tell us his whole life story, but that's okay. We got to get it. I was born in Columbus, Ohio, and like so many others, my early life was filled with challenges I could not control. I was given up for adoption at the age of 6 months, placed in a foster home, and eventually adopted by the time I was 4 years old. My adoptive mother was an educator, and she worked alongside her biological daughter to provide for our family. Life seemed to be on the up and up until my mother's health began to deteriorate around the age of 10, when I was around the age of 10. That's when everything began to change. Unable to care for me due to her illness, my adopted mother placed me in a boys' ranch where I spent the next 8 years drifting in and out of foster homes and group homes. During this tumultuous time, I found myself living with people I met on the streets. Survival became a daily battle and my instincts took over. I often found myself stealing from stores just to have food to eat. Those days blurred into one another, marked by desperation and fear. The harshness of that life quickly shaped me. I ended up in and out of juvenile institutions, and my once clean record began to build a rap sheet of offenses. See, this is way of explaining this. This is way of saying, yeah, I got a record, because I know that's what you're going to do. I know you're going to try to say I'm a crook. So, yeah, I got a record. Okay, that's what he's trying to say. What started as petty theft soon escalated into breaking and entering and even robbery. Survival wasn't just about getting by. It was about staying alive in a world that seemed bent on punishing me to the edge. I remember some nights lying down in gas station bathrooms, cold and alone, with nothing but the sound of passing cars and the occasional flickering light to keep me company. I'm going to just keep reading. I had to rely on myself to make it through, and that meant doing whatever it took to survive, even if it meant turning to drugs. I found myself selling drugs for a local kingpin just to make enough money to eat or find shelter for the night. In those moments, I wasn't just a teenager fighting for survival. I was someone who had been broken down piece by piece by a system that had abandoned me at every turn. The world around me felt like it had nothing left to offer, and yet I pushed on. Always just one step ahead of everything that threatened to swallow me whole. Y'all, I mean, is he writing his novel? Is this his life story? Is that what we're reading, our life story? Yes, Villanova. He said Columbus, Ohio, girl. He said Columbus, Ohio. Here comes Jay Wilson, messy self. Lord, what's going on? Did they get Jakes? No, but they got a new accuser, Pastor. They got somebody new. This is his story. He telling his story. Okay, you playing the violin in the background. Child, now I feel compelled to grab a snack. I'm telling y'all. Okay. Reflecting on the pain. These experiences, this constant battle between survival and hopelessness would stay with me forever. It was a life that no child should have to live, and yet it was my reality for many years. But even then, deep down, I held on to something I could not explain. Perhaps it was hope, or maybe it was desire to find something better, something more than the streets. But those were the moments that shaped me into who I would later become, moments that pushed me toward a future I could never have imagined. Child, he is landed on thick, honey. Can we just go straight to embracing the call, a new life in ministry? Because, child, let's get to this. Okay. After that, I guess I got to talk about he went to the revival. Okay. We got to talk about him going to the revival. Okay. This moment didn't immediately change everything. Change rarely happens overnight, but it was the first step. Over time, I started distancing myself from the drug kingpin and the people who were a part of that world. The girl became someone. I must have skipped something. I just skipped the whole. I skipped it. Yeah, why y'all let me skip on him reflecting on the pain? No, I did skip. Okay, I didn't skip something. They skipped something. Okay, whatever. Okay, because it say this moment didn't immediately change everything. We don't know what that moment was. They must have deleted the moment. I don't know. He talking about some woman. I don't. Who's the woman? Okay, it said we didn't become a couple or anything like that, but she became a beacon. You didn't tell it. Did I miss it? Forget it. Forget it, child. We don't care. The woman. Her belief in me wasn't enough to completely erase the past, but it was enough to make me want to try to be something more. I began to see that there was more to life than the cycle of crime, violence, and despair. I realized I had talents, dreams, and a voice. Things I had almost forgotten about in the struggle for survival. Okay. Now, this is where he meets T.D. Jakes, okay? After that unforgettable night at the revival, everything in my life shifted. I feel like they skipped something here, because when did he talk about going to the revival? I couldn't deny the clarity I felt, the sense that God had specifically ordained his path for me. The laying on of hands by T.D. Jakes and the prophetic words he spoke ignited something within me. I was no longer the man I had been, caught in a cycle of crime, desperation, and uncertainty. I had been chosen for a purpose, a calling greater than myself. Yeah, I swear we missed something, because there's nothing here about the revival. Let me make sure it wasn't me. Hold on. Let me just, I can't do this. Yeah, they must have deleted a section, because they don't say nothing about no revival. All right, he went to the revival. I don't know what revival he was at, but he was at a revival. The dream I had in prison. Prison? When did you say you went to prison? The dream I had in prison had come alive in a way that was undeniable. The words, "Don't run ahead of me, stay behind me," echoed in my heart, reminding me that this journey wasn't about my timing, but about God's. I could rush ahead or try to force things. I had to stay humble, obedient, and trust that God would open the doors when the time was right. Well, I would trust that you would put the whole story. You wrote 7 pages, 2 more paragraphs wouldn't have been much. I don't know how we got here. As soon as I left that revival, I was on fire. I dove deeper into the scriptures, spending hours reading and studying the word of God. I knew that if I was to step into ministry, I needed to be prepared, not just spiritually, but in knowledge. I began to seek out opportunities to serve in any way I could, whether it was leading a prayer group, helping organize church events, or volunteering at outreach programs. I was there, eager to learn and to give back. Okay. All right, then. The next few years were all about foundation. I wasn't rushing to be in the spotlight, but I was determined to build my character and understanding. Ministry wasn't just about preaching. It was about living out the gospel, walking in humility, and serving others in every possible way. I looked up to men like Bishop Jakes, who were walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And I wanted to follow their example. The church became my home. The people there became my family. I found strength in the support of my pastor, Bishop Sherman Watkins, who has stood by me from the beginning, and in the wisdom of the other leaders who helped guide me along the way. They were there to remind me that this was a marathon, not a sprint, that I needed to continue staying close to God and allowing him to shape me for the work ahead. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Okay, we're going to scroll through this. Okay, I think we get the point. You found God. All right, we're going to scroll through this a little bit, because this is a lot. Years passed with me. The church and its members began to recognize the gifts and calling I had. I started stepping into more leadership roles, leading Bible studies, preaching at services, and eventually taking on more responsibility within the church. Each time I stood before the congregation, I was reminded of that dream. The dream that we don't know nothing about. Okay, the fruits of the journey, we don't care about the fruit. Reflecting and moving forward. Okay. The journey from prison to ministry, from brokenness to purpose has been, this sounds like his book. Yeah, I feel like he writing a book. This sounds like a book. I am living proof that God can use anyone, no matter their past, no matter their mistakes. If they are willing to submit to his will, okay. The call to serve, new roles and new challenges. Okay, I was a licensed and ordained as an elder at Higher Ground, always abounding assemblies. My calling to ministry took on a new dimension. I was appointed as National Youth Evangelist, a position that allowed me to travel from church to church within the organization, preaching, sharing the message of the gospel. It was an honor and a responsibility. My livelihood would come from offerings and honorariums. It was the beginning of a new chapter in my ministry. My first experience was exhilarating. I felt like I was living out the very calling I had received all those years ago. God was using me in powerful ways, and I saw lives touched and transformed. Okay. All right, we're going to keep scrolling because, child, can we get to TD Jakes? Okay, can we get to, all right, I'm going to scroll. Here I am trying to read the whole thing, and I'm just going to scroll because it's a lot. Over the years, this experience, though uncomfortable, shaped how I approached my role as a leader. Oh, what was uncomfortable? Hold on, maybe let's see. Okay. One was a critical learner that had begun my ministry, was faced with decision, challenged my values. Oh, somebody tried to challenge. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, somebody made an inappropriate pass. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute. Let's get behind. I scrolled too fast. Hold on. I had been invited to speak at a church in the organization. It seemed like any other event. However, during my visit, the bishop who had invited me made a comment that stopped me in my tracks. He said, "I didn't bring you here for my daughter, whom you've become friends with. I brought you here for me." Oh. He said, I knew exactly what he meant. His words carried a weight that I couldn't ignore. I was shocked, confused, and deeply uncomfortable. I had respected this man, but now I was faced with something I never experienced to encounter in my ministry. My initial reaction was to take offense to accuse him of making an inappropriate pass, but I quickly realized that doing so could lead to consequences that could damage not only my reputation, but also the reputation of the ministry and the church as a whole. I knew that if I confronted him directly, he could easily turn it around and say he was referring to the church or ministry, not to me personally. The ambiguity of his statement left me in a dilemma. It was a moment that required me to discern how to respond with grace, wisdom, and integrity without reacting out of hurt or anger. Okay, so the other bishop made a pass at you. Okay. All right. Let's just scroll down to the stuff. Let's just scroll, y'all. Okay. All right, let's go back to faith. Let's start here. This is where the highlights start. Hold on. Y'all still with me? Because this is a lot. Let me come and check in on y'all. Y'all know I can't see the chat while I'm reading. Lord, he said, my Lord. Cruiser said, my Lord. Woo. You been at higher ground. Really? No, you been to higher ground? Ooh, tell me about higher ground. Higher ground always abound in assembly. Dr. Sherman, that's what they said. Said Sherman Watkins, honey. Right, this sound like a book, Lady T. Sound like this is outline for his story. Okay. All right. Let me read. Okay, let's start. This the part look like it gets to about the TD Jakes of it all. Okay. Facing challenges. As I continue in my ministry, my experience began to take a more troubling turn. Every bishop I preached for seemed to have their own struggles with boundaries, and I became disheartened by the recurring pattern. Many approached me either directly or indirectly in ways that made me uncomfortable. While I had not experienced physical assault, the constant sexual overtures were a reality I couldn't ignore. I need a picture of Timothy. What Timothy looked like? I need to Google him. I need to know what he looked like. You say all these people coming on to you. What you looking like? You looking like Denzel? You looking like Idris? Was it Idris? Who you looking like? It said at first I tried to dismiss these incidents. After all, I was a young, newly ordained minister traveling and preaching in environments where authority figures often blurred the lines between leadership and personal interests. But the repeated encounters began to weigh on me. The disillusionment grew. I started to question everything. The gift God had given me, my calling, and whether it was all just a setup. Was this ministry I was called to, or was it a way to groom me for something darker, more predatory? I struggled with my faith, asking God why it seemed like every door that opened for me in ministry also came with a burden I couldn't carry alone. I had prayed for opportunities to serve and speak and to change lives, but I didn't know how to reconcile that reality I was facing with the vision I had of a pure, God-driven ministry. Okay, here the part we was waiting for. It says an offer from Bishop T.D. Jakes. Okay, here he go. Okay. Amidst this spiritual turmoil, an opportunity came that seemed too good to pass up. Bishop T.D. Jakes, a name known all across the world for his powerful preaching and ministry, invited me to his new home in West Virginia. He had a vision for a new ministry and offered me a position to come to Dallas and serve alongside him, something that could elevate my calling in ways I hadn't imagined. Wait a minute. Oh, he invited me to his new home in West Virginia. He had a vision for a new ministry and offered me a position. Okay, so this is when Jakes was leaving West Virginia and going to Dallas. Now listen, I'm not saying that T.D. Jakes is or is not doing anything or did anything. What I am saying, in my opinion, if there is something, it's buried in West Virginia. That's what I'm saying. Okay, let me move along. His offer was appealing, and I wrestled with questions. Why would he offer me such a low salary when I was already making a decent living as an evangelist? Why should a drastic change from the work I was doing? I explained the ministry and evangelism were different worlds. Oh, he explained, that ministry and evangelism were different worlds. Being a pastor required a different level of commitment, and I would have to start small, learning the ropes. He offered me $24,000, which was a third of what I had been making. But he also told me that I could supplement my income with selective engagements outside of his ministry, things that wouldn't interfere with my regular duties. It seemed like a fair trade, but I was uncertain. Still, who at my age, coming from my background, wouldn't want to serve under someone like Bishop Jakes? So I agreed. But there was no written contract, only a verbal agreement that felt uncertain, and I wasn't sure what I was walking into. I told Bishop Watkins, my pastor, about the offer, and he gave me his blessing. Although, with caution, he told me, all that glitters isn't gold. Ooh, well. But that he felt I had reached a point where moving on was like going to college, an opportunity for growth. I arrived in Dallas eager to work alongside Bishop Jakes and excited about the future. However, my first encounter with him in his new mansion, when I was tasked with assembling furniture, set the tone for a new kind of discomfort. While I had hoped to discuss ministry with him, to learn from him as a mentor, something unexpected happened. So he invited you to his house to put together his IKEA furniture. At one point, he went into his bathroom, and when he returned, he passed by me naked. Naked? Mr. Jakes? Bishop, sir? You don't need to walk past nobody naked. Sir, you don't need to watch past... Sir, you don't... Oh, God. I'm going to just keep reading because that would have... I'd have left in. I'd have been right back in Columbus. I'd have packed my shit. Okay. I was stunned. I turned away, trying to downplay the situation in my mind. This was Bishop Jakes, after all. This opportunity was a dream come true, or at least that's what I kept telling myself. I didn't want to make things awkward. He made it awkward. He walked around you naked. He made it awkward. I didn't want to be seen as homophobic or judgmental. I told myself that I couldn't let a single uncomfortable moment ruin this chance to learn from one of the greatest preachers in my generation. But as time passed, more situations like this came up. One incident stands out in particular. I had accepted an invitation to preach in Japan, and I was excited about the opportunity. However, when I shared this with Bishop Jakes, instead of congratulating me, he told me I could not go. He said it would interfere with my duties at the Potter's house. I reminded him of our earlier conversation where he said I could supplement my income through engagements that didn't interfere with my responsibilities. But he insisted that I had to choose between staying as his youth pastor or going back to evangelizing. He told me, don't forget, I made you. I opened doors for you. I was torn. I didn't know what to do. He was my mentor, someone who had given me a platform, and yet I felt trapped. I didn't want to dishonor him, but I also didn't want to lose my independence and the opportunity to continue doing what God had called me to do. The pressure was immense, and I was once again confronted with a difficult decision. Stay loyal to my calling under his leadership, or step back and reevaluate what I truly wanted in ministry and in life. Well, that wasn't nothing sexual. That was just powerful. That was a power play. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me see. As I continue preaching, the challenges seemed to multiply. I was wrestling with the tension between fulfilling my calling, maintaining my integrity. These situations with Jakes, though deeply uncomfortable, were reflective and broad. Okay. Each decision that I made, each step I took was a test of my faith. Okay. I couldn't ignore the growing sense of unease, and so I had to choose. I had to decide whether I would allow these challenges to define my ministry or I'd rise above them and continue moving forward. Okay. All right, we're going to keep scrolling. Okay, here comes something else highlighted in yellow. Let's see what this was. Okay. As you can imagine, I was emotionally and spiritually crushed by the weight of everything I was experiencing. The manipulative power play that had been unfolding before me was all too familiar. It wasn't just a matter of disagreeing on ministerial decisions. This felt like a calculated move to control me, to exert power over my life in ways that were both subtle and overt. I felt trapped, alone, and utterly devastated. The man I had looked up to, the leader I thought I could trust, had crossed a line I never imagined he would. I began to cry. I knew from my past experiences that he had caused so much pain that this wasn't just a decision about my ministry or a job. It was about power, control, and manipulation. Is he still talking about Japan? The more I thought about it, the more I broke down emotionally. I paced his office trying to make sense of everything, trying to breathe through the overwhelming sadness. As I walked back and forth trying to process what was happening, Bishop Jake stood up, grabbed a box of tissues, and walked towards me. His words were cold, calculated. It seems like you have a decision to make. And then, in a move that left me paralyzed with confusion, he grabbed me and tried to kiss me. My mind was racing. Emotionally distraught, I pushed away from him and tried to regain some control over my emotions. I sat back down, hoping that if I cried more, he might feel compassion and perhaps his intentions would shift. But it was clear that the power dynamic had shifted in a way I couldn't ignore anymore. He sat down on the other side of the table, a distance between us now, but the emotional damage had been done. The tissues were placed in front of me like a symbol of my brokenness. I'm sorry, y'all. This is supposed to be serious. And I told him how much I loved him, how difficult this decision was for me. I was trying to hold on to whatever shred of dignity I had left, but his response was chilling. He reminded me again that it was his ministry, his leadership, and that if he gave me what I wanted, my chance to go to Japan, then I wouldn't understand the principles of authority. I'm sorry, excuse me. Are we just going to rush past the part where you say he tried to kiss you? Girl, boy, you still talking about Japan? Are you still talking about Japan? We just going to push past the part where you said this man tried to kiss you? The hell with Japan. Sir. Sir. Right. Like you said the man don't walk past you naked and you didn't say nothing else about it. You just let that man walk past you naked. You didn't say nothing. You didn't get that man a roll. You didn't excuse yourself from the room. You didn't ask him, did he forget something? You didn't say, excuse me, Bishop, Pastor Jake, sir, evangelist, minister. You didn't say nothing. You just let that man walk past you naked. And then you said that you told this man that you had a chance to go to Japan, and it took you 4 paragraphs to tell us that the man tried to kiss you, and then you jumped right past him trying to kiss you, and we back to Japan. The hell with Japan? Why was this man trying to kiss you? And what happened? Right, that Japan trip was serious. But, I mean, you said he tried to kiss you, and then what? Did you push away from him? How close did his lips get to you? Did he try to kiss you on the cheek? Because maybe he was just trying to kiss you on the cheek. Maybe he was just trying to say, okay, you know, you got something to think about, and he was just trying to say goodbye. Y'all, this a lot. Let's keep going. I'm going to keep going. Right, did he kiss you on the forehead? Did you kiss him back? I mean, we burying the lead over here. The hell with Japan. All right, let's keep going. It's not too much more, y'all. Let's keep going. In that moment, I felt the full weight of the decision he had placed in front of me. I knew that if I didn't choose what he wanted, if I didn't stay and submit to his will, I would lose my place in his ministry and potentially any chance at the future I thought I had. But I also knew that I had to make the right decision for my soul, for my calling, for the integrity I had fought so hard to maintain. What about the kids? I asked for 2 weeks to pray about my ultimatum, knowing that I couldn't make a decision in that moment. I needed time to process what had happened, to find clarity through prayer. When I called Bishop Watkins to tell him what had transpired, I was devastated. His response was to tell me to never speak of it to anyone, to never touch God's anointed, to never do harm to a prophet. Lord, here we go with the don't do no harm to my prophet. His words echoed in my mind, but they did little to comfort me. Instead, I felt isolated in my grief, unable to find the support I so desperately needed. Bishop Watkins reminded me of the advice he had given me before. All that glitters isn't gold. I had heard that phrase from him before, but this time it hit different. It was as if the weight of his wisdom, his caution had finally fully settled in my spirit. I knew I had to make a decision that protected my integrity, even if it meant leaving the very place I thought I would thrive. Okay, well, let's read this because it's highlighted. After antagonizing over the situation, I made the difficult decision to return to evangelism. I had to look beyond the control, beyond the manipulation, and trust that God had a plan for me that was not tied to the person or the position that I had believed was my future. When I told Bishop Jakes of my decision, he responded in his usual way, preaching a message that seemed tailored to hit me subliminally. His message, bloom where you were planted, was powerful, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more about him than about my own personal growth. It was a great message in many ways, but I couldn't ignore the stark contrast between the spiritual gifts I had witnessed and the manipulative behavior I had experienced. It was a struggle I couldn't shake. I knew that I had to make the decision to leave behind what had become a toxic environment, one that blurred the lines between ministry and personal boundaries. Child, let me see if there's anything else in here, child, because that's it. That's his whole story. The struggle was real. The pain was undeniable, but I had survived. I had learned that my journey with God was not defined by the actions of others, but by my own faith and trust in him. And that was what I would hold on to as I move forward, no longer bound by fear or manipulation. Child, bye. Come on. So, here's another affidavit from a person that allegedly, what'd I do? Hold on. From a person that allegedly had an encounter with Bishop Jakes that was inappropriate. Now, this is what I'm going to say. Look, Brother Timothy. Now, last night I listened. Well, I wasn't there last night. I listened a little bit this morning. There was somebody in Thais's chat who allegedly went to the Potter's house, and he remembers this man. He remembers he was a youth pastor at the Potter's house, and he said he remembers him. Okay? And he said that this man did just disappear. You know, he was there. He was active. He was an active part of the Potter's house, and then one day he was just gone. And that's according to this person that said they said, I always wonder what happened to, you know, Minister Tim. He just disappeared one day. I'm gonna say this. Oh, somebody, okay, hold on. Tracy just sent me a picture. Let's see what this man looked like. Okay, we got a picture of him. Hold on. We got a picture of him. Let's see what this man looked like. Hold on. Okay, that's what the man looked like. This is Pastor Tim. This him. This what he looked like, y'all. Let me see if it's a little blurry. Let me see if it'll clear up. That's what this man looked like, okay? Now, he's a minister at the House of Praise Incorporated. Timothy C. Anderson, senior pastor. Yeah, he left. He ended up leaving. He left. Okay, here's another one. It's another picture of him. Yeah, he left. He said he left. He went back to evangelization. He said he left. Now, look, this is all I'm going to say. I guess he went to prison for drugs. He said he was selling drugs for the local kingpin down to Columbus. I guess, I mean, it looked like we skipped that. And then somewhere a woman invited him to the revival, and he went to the revival with TD Jakes. Okay. Honestly, y'all, this sounds like that TD Jakes was trying to control this man. Do I think that TD Jakes could have an ego and could be very much like, it's my way or the highway, or you're going to do it my way, or you're going to leave, or whatever? Yeah, I can believe that. I can absolutely believe that about TD Jakes. I can absolutely believe that. But you just rushed right past the inappropriate stuff in my mind. Now, again, that read more like a book than an affidavit, honestly. Because it was a whole lot of stuff in there that we didn't need to know nothing about. We didn't care nothing about it. We didn't know nothing about it, okay? However, it is in line with some of the other stories we heard, the trying to kiss him part, the walking around naked part. Somebody else said the same thing, that TD Jakes came out the bathroom naked when they was at the hotel, when they was on the road going to do the revival. Remember, he said that too. So, I mean, the story sounds familiar. That don't make it true. That does not make it true. Just because the story sounds familiar does not make the story true. However, y'all, this goes back to what I told y'all from the beginning. TD Jakes files this lawsuit. And now you have opened the door for everybody to tell their story, true or false. And every time something happens with this lawsuit, guess what? The bloggers, myself included, we're going to now come down here and we're going to tell the story. Y'all are cutting up in this chat. I'm seeing it because I see messy pastor. I see messy pastor in this chat. I see him. That's what Diddy did. Why they do comfortable naked. I don't know. Larry said he don't know why he did that because he knows there are a lot of people with stories. Listen, now look, y'all don't have to like Larry Reed, but Larry Reed said it from the beginning. Larry Reed said this was not a good idea because everybody gonna have people got stories. There have been rumors and there are stories. Now, whether the stories are true or not, I can't say. I wasn't there. I was not there. Okay, but now everybody gonna tell a story, and every time, what did I tell y'all? Every time there's something new on this lawsuit, what's gonna happen? Everybody gonna go live to talk about it. I done went live. Thais done went live. St. James done went live. Uncle Tim done went live. Everybody gonna talk. Cruiser probably gonna do a messy live. She gonna do one over there on her Cruiser 2 channel. Everybody's gonna talk about it because now, every time something happens with this lawsuit, it's gonna rehash all of this again. And again, it does. I don't know whether it's true or not. I was not there. I don't know none of these people. Okay, I don't know none of these people. I don't know whether it's true or not. But what I am going to say is, you open the door for people to constantly have this conversation. Villanova said, hell, she might go live. Girl, there you go. You see what I mean? And so I really think that TD Jakes, you need to weigh, because what's going to happen next is, according to what Pam was saying, the judge will make a decision about whether this will go forward or not. So the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to have oral arguments. If this case goes forward, now you're going to have oral arguments. So now what's going to happen is all these same bloggers, probably not me because I ain't going to be able to do it, but you're going to have a bunch of bloggers that's going to be in that courtroom. And what they're going to do? They're going to report on it. They're going to tell their story. It's giving Kevin Hart. We didn't care until he decided to sue. There you go. Because here's the reality. Can we just be honest for a minute? This man went down to Larry Reid and told his story. Now, yes, Larry Reid did part 1, part 2, and he was getting ready to do a part 3. Hell, Larry Reid might have done 5 parts for all we care. But y'all know how this goes. You do a story on your YouTube channel. It gets a little bit of traction for a couple of days, and in about 3-4 days, something new comes along, and everybody moves on to the next story. In all reality, TD Jakes, Dwayne Youngblood did not have the best track record. I'm gonna call a thing a thing. He is a convicted ex-offender. Okay, he was a convicted ex-offender. For the all reality, most people wasn't paying him no attention. Okay, we might have went over to Larry Reid, heard the story, and again, did what bloggers do. We gonna do our own commentary on it, and then we gonna move on to the next thing. But now you have turned this YouTube interview from October, baby, it is March, and we are still talking about it. It is March. Well, it's almost March, and we still talking about it. Do you think we would still be talking about this if you hadn't filed this lawsuit? Child, would nobody be thinking about Youngblood? But anyway, that's our newest accuser. Brother Minister Evangelist Tim Anderson has stepped into the chat now. He is also connected to the Higher Ground people. Now, remember, that's the same church. That name came up with Youngblood as well. I believe Youngblood was with them. Okay. Now I'm going live and I don't even have a channel. Chuck, you crazy. So listen, that's what it is, y'all. Y'all do with it what y'all want. Because listen, y'all know how I feel about these things. Either you're going to believe it or you're not. Either you believe that TD Jakes could possibly have been inappropriate with this young man, or you believe that he was not. Okay? I wasn't there. I don't know. I don't know nothing about it. I was not there. But I will say this. This is a new name. We ain't heard nothing. We do know, well, according to the person in the chat the other night, this man did work at the Potter's house. Now, I'm going to say this. If I cared enough, and this was said the other night over on Thais' channel as well. If I cared enough, if I had the time, and if I had the money, I'm telling you, West Virginia is where I would start. I just think all roads lead to West Virginia. I just keep hearing West Virginia, West Virginia, West Virginia. Now, as far as I know, ain't nothing came out of West Virginia, but baby, all roads seem to lead to West Virginia. Bishop Watkins is Bishop Jake's spiritual father and mentor. That's what. Listen, that's what I keep hearing, D. That's what I keep hearing. Now, I listen. I don't care enough. Okay, I don't care enough. I don't have the money. I don't have the energy. But if I were so inclined, that is where I would start. That's all I'm gonna say about that. We about to get up off of here, you guys. I think I'm gonna come back and just do a regular tribe meeting. Okay, do a regular tribe meeting. But I'm about to get up off of here. But thank you. It was 200, and I believe we got up to about 250 people. Not that town ain't got, but about 98,000. Well, if that town got 98,000 people, it's 1,000 of them that know a story that they can tell. I bet you they do. Y'all know how small towns are. Matter of fact, 90,000 of them got a story to tell. Y'all know how these stories go. Y'all know how these stories go. Ciao. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. We have a good time. I'm probably going to come back in about 15, 20 minutes. We're going to do a little tribe meeting. I ain't got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about a little bit of this, a little bit of that, okay? All roads in Dallas lead to Lord knows where, child. Now, they say in Dallas, he got smart. Now, that's what I heard. What I heard in Dallas was he got smart. You know, he got the police and the politicians. And, you know, that's what I heard. I don't know that to be true. I don't know these people. Road trip. I'm not road tripping nowhere. Now, depending on if they have these oral arguments, if these oral arguments take place during the summertime, I may drive up to Pittsburgh. Because, you know, I got a friend in Pittsburgh. I got a friend that live in Pittsburgh. So I got somewhere to stay, honey. Now, if the oral arguments are during the summer, if them oral arguments was during the summer when I don't have to go to work, I may drive up to Pittsburgh. Now, I ain't going to tell you no lie. I may drive up to Pittsburgh. Okay? The chemical plant. Who at the chemical plant? Pastor, you dropping stuff in the chat. Who was working at the chemical plant? TD Jakes. When he had that Jerry curl. He was working at the chemical plant down in West Virginia. Is that what you're talking about? That's where you need to start. You need to start up there. You need to interview them people down to the chemical plant. Sure. All right, y'all. I'm about to get out of here. Thank y'all. It's so good to see some of my people in the chat. Villanova, Cruiser, Pastor Wilson. All of those people are YouTubers, and they probably going to talk about it. So y'all better go on and subscribe so y'all can catch their live when they talk about it. Because all three of them are a little shady. All three of them are a little shady. Go to West Virginia State. Somebody on that campus. No, listen, they know something, Pastor. I believe that. Now, I ain't saying that it's, listen, I'm not saying that it's a sexual situation, but I do believe there's a reason why he left West Virginia. Because, baby, you didn't leave West Virginia and go to Maryland. You didn't leave West Virginia and go to Pennsylvania. You didn't leave West Virginia and go to Detroit. Baby, you went to left West Virginia and went to Dallas. You went across country. Baby, that sounds like a long way to go. I'm just saying. Anyway, let me get off of here, y'all. I will talk to y'all later. Mwah! Peace.